Welcome to ACME's online workshop. ACME, standing for Analyzing Communication Through Marketing and Engagement Strategies, is here to offer step-by-step guidance for one of the biggest struggles of today.
A fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should our education over here.
That's right. ACME provides you with the tools you need to not look like this and to present yourself and your information successfully. By the end of our workshop, you should be free of any possible hiccups that may come your way. Now let's break down what exactly ACME has to offer you. As we mentioned, our logo is Analyzing Communication Through Marketing and Engagement Strategies. In other words, we provide solutions to the communication struggles of today. We start by providing a thorough analysis of what communication consists of fundamentally. By breaking down what establishes effective communication, we are then able to address head-on the complications standing in your way towards delivering a proficient speech and projecting the best version of yourself. We arm our consumers with an understanding of the role that marketing plays in the communication process. In any presentation, you are marketing your ideas or cause, but you are also marketing yourself. Let's break this down to real-world examples. In your career, most of the opportunities will come through networking, and the people who network or market themselves best typically receive more opportunities. This all can tie back to your communication ability. The more marketable you are, the more likely an audience will agree with you. Whether persuading them to feel a certain way or informing them, you are always promoting and marketing yourself and your content. ACME prepares our consumers with the understanding and skills to give an engaging presentation. By focusing on the audience instead of the presentation itself, you will automatically increase the audience's interest. Look at it this way. The main goal is to increase the audience's interest in what it is you have to say. You do this by creating an experience for your audience. We equip our consumers with engagement strategies because we want you to be better than the get in, get out presenters that we've all sat through. We want you to strike a chord with your audience and in turn gain confidence and credibility as a speaker. We are ready to transform the way you present by raising expectations, increasing skills, and expanding understanding. Now let's rewind and address the components that make up an effective speech. One of the first verbal components of the presentation is its length. Now, depending on the topic at hand, you want to make sure you thoroughly cover the material without dragging it out and cluttering it with unnecessary additions. Then there's the content, what's actually said. You want to use a concrete speech that helps a listener visualize what is being said with clear and concise points. You also want to have a warm tone of voice, which ensures that your tone matches your demeanor and makes you more approachable as a speaker, all the while maintaining a normal speech rate and projecting confidence to the audience. Now we're going to shift over to the use of nonverbals in a speech. Now, eye contact is key. It encourages trust in audience involvement and engagement. You want to maintain an approachable facial expression and an appropriate dress. This makes you seem more likable and increases audience willingness to listen. You want to make sure you're using expressive hand and body gestures because this increases the listener's level of understanding, all the while maintaining a relaxed disposition that signals to the listener we are confident in what we're saying. ACME stresses the equal importance of effective verbal and nonverbal usage. Here's a clip demonstrating the examples that we've just provided. Focus in on the engagement with the audience and the confidence that this speaker portrays.
It's really difficult, but it's all in how you embrace the change. Change can be bad or change can be great. Now we have something special. And our goal is going to win the SEC and a national championship. And that's what's going to drive us every day. Is it going to be easy? No. But anything in life that's worth doing is hard.
Look at the way he captures his audience. He immediately discloses his qualifications, thus gaining credibility. He exudes confidence and is direct in his content. He expressively uses hand gestures and maintains a relaxed disposition while addressing the entire audience. Now that you've seen how each of these speech components combine to form a stimulating presentation, let's address the different types of speeches. As you know, speeches occur on a regular basis, whether you're a student, a member of a corporation, or simply presenting your ideas to a group. Because of their differences in content and goals, the various types need to be individually considered. For starters, the basics of understanding how to manage a group presentation in comparison to an individual one can be summed up by the 3 C's: clarity, control, and commitment. Now, clarity involves each individual in a group presentation knowing their role, staying consistent, and cooperating with the other members. Control is demonstrated by managing the presentation organization. The first speaker should introduce the presentation as a whole, then each following speaker will introduce the next speaker and topic. One important component is including internal previews. This means you should always tie back your individual information to the overarching topic. In addition to this, each presenter should move to the front of the group when it is his or her turn to speak, with the last speaker concluding the presentation. Now, commitment is a component of preparation. When formulating the presentation, the group should check each other's individual work for consistency of information and formatting. When it comes time for questions, it's important that the entire group has a complete understanding of the project and not just the specifics that they covered in their presentation. Informative speeches are the most common type of speeches. They serve to provide interesting and useful information to your audience, which is why they rely on adequate support for the information provided in cases being made. In these presentations, you want the audience to walk away with facts, and you as a speaker are focused on the presentation's transition of knowledge. It's easy for your informative speech to turn into a persuasive essay, especially when you're knowledgeable on a particular subject. ACME wants to remind you to do your best to avoid persuasion and remain unbiased when presenting information. Similarly, don't overestimate what the audience already knows. It's easy to assume that your knowledge of a topic is similar to that of the audience, but this is often not the case. This is why our second tip is to avoid using jargon. You want to be clear, direct, and specific. Effective presentations are not generic, so be organized and creative in your presentation materials and techniques. Persuasive speeches, on the other hand, are centered on providing information to the audience while telling them what to do with the information, or how to think. You most likely have experience using persuasion in your daily life, which is how you've probably already implemented ACME's main point for persuasive speeches: know your audience. Your target audience is the group of individuals you are most interested in influencing. What works for some people won't necessarily work for others. The ultimate goal is to have the audience walk away with a specific opinion or viewpoint. Developing persuasive arguments, you want to first establish personal credibility in the introduction, as we just saw Butch Jones do in the previous clip. You want to also be prepared because there is nothing more convincing than a well-prepared speaker. In order to make your presentation credible, you want to put the strongest arguments first as an attention grabber and last in order to finish strongly. Special occasion, commemorative, or after-dinner speeches are what these presentations are often called. This speech stands out because it is written to the specific context and specific audience that will be hearing it. The speaker may use pathos to convince the audience to be happy, or may be speaking simply to inform. You want to provide enjoyment in your speech that will make the audience laugh or identify with anecdotal information. And finally, there is the introductory presentation. These are meant to build enthusiasm for the upcoming speaker or performer. Now, this can be done through humor or by mentioning their achievements, but the key to these presentations is building up excitement by revealing their name at the end of the presentation. Not only do you want to build enthusiasm for the speaker themselves, but also for their topic. So you need to determine your audience, decide what's relevant, and consider the purpose or tone of your presentation. As you guys have noticed, one of the biggest components of establishing an effective main point is transitioning between examples and speakers. We're now going to discuss how to successfully transition throughout a presentation. Now, without transitions, presentations and speeches appear choppy, unorganized, and can lead to audiences' lack of credibility to your cause. Transitions explain to the listeners how this relates to that, and keep the listeners from getting lost and feeling like points are transitioning at random. Now, in any speech, transitions help the argument flow smoothly, reveal relationships between points, and help the audience to better understand the message. Now, ACME chooses to use the review-preview method when transitioning between speakers. When you're transitioning, briefly summarize the information that you've just covered, then give a brief introduction. Practice in order to correctly nail down pauses, rate, pitch, volume, and emphasis. Notice how we have transitioned from point to point throughout this presentation, providing a roadmap for our audience. Now that we've covered transitions and their importance, we're now going to discuss the development of your presentation and supporting points. When developing a speech, you're first going to establish why the speech is being given. Are you trying to inform, persuade, or entertain? It boils down to 3 basic needs in formulating your main points: the claim you're making, or point you're proving; the explanation, which consists of examples of your claim; and evidence, which supports that your examples are accurate. The main points need to be direct enough to signify importance and to maintain the audience's attention. You're then going to use these main points to establish your introduction, which previews your main point; transitions that shift from one example to another; and conclusion, summarizing how the evidence provided supports your claim. After you've determined the purpose, main points, and outline of the presentation, you're going to break these main points down into additional subpoints that further validate the claim. After finding supportive subpoints for each main point, a trend should emerge that connects the information together, thus forming ACME's hierarchy of support. And when reviewing the main points, ask yourself, do they unite to deepen the understanding of the presentation purpose? And we recommend that throughout the process of developing your speech, you concentrate on the overall message you're trying to translate to your audience. In other words, maintain your hierarchy of support. As you guys have noticed, one of the biggest components of establishing an effective main point is the material that's used. We're now going to cover the difference in the supporting evidence used for informative and persuasive presentations. When it comes to providing the additional supporting material to your claim, you first want to ask yourself, who is the audience? Different audiences respond differently to various types of supporting evidence, and it is your job to determine what subpoints will be most comprehensible and effective. An informative speech is a logical appeal to the audience. This speech is formulated in order to support information using facts and figures. Now, all types of support can be used, but the most effective support is scientific evidence because it is based on empirical truths. Persuasive speeches, on the other hand, are emotional appeals. Think ways to move the audience emotionally. All types of supporting material can be used for emotional appeals, but providing data may not be as effective as providing stories for connecting with the audience. We recommend getting to know your audience prior to the speech by doing your research, during your speech by observing, and after your speech during questions. We recommend this in order for you to best gain their respect and hopefully their agreement with your topic. As we have addressed throughout this presentation, correct speech preparation and delivery goes well beyond distinguishing the audience. Let's take a look at today's takeaways. We started by addressing the components of an effective speech and the equal importance of verbal and nonverbal usage. Then we covered the distinguishing factors and goals of the various types of speeches. We addressed the added components of a group presentation and the implications of clarity, control, and commitment. Because the group factor changes the entire presentation dynamic, we then focused on the importance of transitions and their ability to organize the speech while clarifying the message. When concentrating on the clarity of the message, we discussed the steps toward developing an effective and supported purpose using the hierarchy of support. Finally, we address the different supportive needs that an informative and persuasive argument require, as well as the importance of knowing your audience. Today, we hope that you've achieved a greater understanding of the components that make presentations interesting, enlightening, and above all, fun. ACME continues to provide the tools that consumers need to excel at public speaking, while offering fresh solutions to a central problem in our society. ACME is proud to announce that in addition to our online communication workshop, we are now offering private and group sessions to expand the development of our clientele. As always, we appreciate your business, and until next time.